Hey, welcome. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being here. Thank you for all that you guys have done. I've heard so many wonderful stories about this place. And, you know, as I read the Bible, it's a collection, part of it's a collection of letters that are written of encouragement. And I'm so encouraged by being here with you guys. This group up here, wow, blew me away. Y'all have got some talented people, so I'll just say that. But it's been a joy. So I know it's Sunday morning church, and these are my church clothes, by the way. See, in our churches, half of the people have camouflage on, so I'm kind of dressed up. And my shoes are camouflage, so I got a little bit. But I hope it's okay. I want to have just a little fun before we get serious. You want to have fun? All right. I spoke up here Friday night at the leadership conference, and it was really neat to be a part of that and kind of share some stories with the guys. And so I noticed though on the advertisement that it said there was Pastor Mark, Pastor Dan, Pastor Mac, and Willie. Why don't I get to be a pastor? I want to be in that club. So I've been watching TV this weekend. I watched some football yesterday, and I watched some stuff about politics. And does everybody realize there's a political, like we're fixing to vote? Yeah. But I was watching, you know, because Minnesota people are so nice. You really are. I remember I went to, remember the game where Brett Favre was playing for the Vikings and they went into Lambeau? Does anybody remember that game? I was there. My friend and I were there. I had my cheese thing on my head, I think. No, we were wearing Viking stuff. No, I'm sorry. Yeah. He's from Minnesota, so we had like but I think I was a woman. Like is there a woman thing? Yeah, I was like the woman Viking for some reason. But I'm watching this football game, and literally, it's like the people are everybody's nice to everybody. It's like, oh, that's a great play. Even though it's not our player, it's a great play. These are the nicest people in the world. Don't go to a Saints game. Don't go Saints-Falcons because it's ugly, it's dirty. People are not nice. But I wanted to see, I was fascinated. I saw some political ads. And I wanted to see if Minnesota political ads are nasty just like they are everywhere else. They are. They are. It's the same thing. And y'all found the same guy with the same voice that does all of them. John Schmidt, he is not right for this county. He doesn't need to be the tax assessor. So, I thought of something. This is why the napkins. I'm going to laugh again at this. So, in my weird mind, I was thinking, because that's what we do. We entertain people, right? We actually get rated on how well we entertain people. The better it rates, the more we keep entertaining people on television. So it's been over 5 years now, believe it or not. Next week I'll film the 130th episode of Dynasty. But I was thinking about something funny, I thought. And I was like, Pastor Mike didn't call me a pastor. So I was like, what if I ran against him for something? What would a political ad sound like? Me against Pastor Mike. You showed up to church. You didn't know you were going to hear this. Pastor Mike didn't call Willie a pastor, and he has a small beard. Willie Robertson has a big old manly beard, just like Jesus. And he's already killed 4 deer this year, Pastor Mac. Yep, Pastor Mac. A little baby beard and won't even let Willie have a cool pastor name. I'm Willie Robertson, and I approve this message. I wrote that like at midnight last night, and I was like, I hope that's funny. I don't know. You never know, you know. Some shows we put out, and we're like, I hope that's funny, and some of them are, some of them aren't. But Johnny D and I came up with that, my slobby assistant there, whose beard's way longer than mine. Last year at the Duck Commander Christmas party, we did those against each other. So if you ever wonder what happens at our company Christmas party, we make up and do stupid stuff like that. So that's where the idea came from. But Pastor Mac, it's been an honor being here with you guys this weekend, just sharing our hearts. And again, I'm moved by your family, what you've done, what you guys have started, and then the Lord has done the work, obviously. But it's great to know that as I travel all over the world, actually, is to see members of Jesus Christ's body 2,000 years later still getting together, still talking about it, still worshiping Him, still praising Him. And I'm just happy to do my part as well. Speaking of politics, you know, there's a funny story about me in this area. My friend Kylie here, who really was instrumental in getting this worked out so I could come up here. Not that I didn't want to be with you guys. It's just right in the middle of early deer season, so I've been waiting all year for this. And I'm speaking this week, and I actually got to speak next week at a cowboy church, so that'll be different. Kyle's my friend. He lived up in Anoka. You know, right up there, right around Coon Rapids. And did I say that right? I'm trying. So I was going up. He worked for a company at the time. He works for me now, but he worked for Federal Ammunition that was up there. And so I was going up to have a meeting. And I called and I said, is everything good to go? And he said, well, we're having trouble getting a hotel. I was like, what's the problem? He said, well, they got that convention in town. I said, what convention? And this was the Republican National Convention was when it was up here. And I said, what is it? He said, the Republican Convention. I said, oh, I didn't know that. I said, well, let's go. Let's just haul off and walk in there. This is way before Duck Dynasty. This is back when I just looked creepy, like I wasn't like famous. It was like, look at this guy. It's weird how celebrity does that, you know? Like, you used to walk in and mothers would pull their children close to them. When you're famous, they just throw them to you. True. So I said, let's go to the convention. He said, wow, we got to have tickets and all this stuff. I said, give me an hour. I guarantee I can get us in there. So I called somebody, and I ended up getting my local representative. And there was a storm that weekend, so there's people in Louisiana went back home, and I got his floor pass. So I could tool around the convention. Well, I was with his assistant, and he said, Willie, we're going to have to get you some clothes because I don't think you're dressed appropriately, which is weird because when I went to the convention, there was a guy dressed up like Abraham Lincoln. So I was like, why do I have to wear a suit? So I go to Nordstrom's here in Minnesota and walk in there. And it was like Pretty Woman. Like I'd come out, and he'd be like, nah, and I'd be like, okay. So I'd go cool and come out again. I'd be like, how do I look now? So finally I was suited up and ready to roll. Get to the convention, and he drops me off on the floor because he said, all right, you on your own. Don't embarrass the state of Louisiana. I said, no problem. So I'm walking around, and I was like, this is so cool being here. And well, the thing started, I can't find my state. I can't find Louisiana. So I just duck into another state. So I just watched with these guys. I was with Massachusetts. That's who I ended up with. And I'm watching the speeches, and people keep taking pictures of me. Now, this is, again, before Duck Dynasty. I wasn't used to that. I thought, I guess there's a lot of people that know about duck hunting in our DVDs, I guess. So I'm like, right here, you know. So towards the end of it, I look over, Mitt Romney's sitting 2 seats beside me. They were taking pictures of him. And I'm cheesing in his picture like... But I think the way it turned out, they're probably more excited now that they got me doing that and not Mitt Romney. So the convention's over. Balloons are falling, it's all this deal. So I'm working my way down to the front to see if I can meet somebody. I want to have a story to come home with. And I already gotten in. I thought that was cool, but I was like, if I can meet somebody. And I look over and I see Megyn Kelly for Fox News. I was like, oh, man, I'm going to go meet her. So I went up there. I was like, Megyn Kelly, hey, I'm Willie Robertson, and I'm from Louisiana. Nice to meet you. And then she kind of like ducks towards me and starts writing and kind of using me to shit. And I'm like, hey, look at this, Megyn Kelly. I'm all excited. And she looks up and she goes, live from the Republican National Convention. And I was like, I'm on TV. I'm on TV. So what do you do when you're on TV? You get your phone, you start calling people, going, turn on Fox News right now. So I called my parents, and my mom's like, I see you. I'm like, that's me. Half of my beard, it's like right here. And I'm like, hey. And so I'm trying to be cool, and but I was like, I'm on TV. I've been on TV since then, right? Guess who was the first speaker this year at the Republican National Convention in Cleveland? The same guy. The same guy that was sneaking on the stage, trying to get up there to be on TV, and then they asked me to start the whole thing off. Politics is funny. God is funny. The things he can do. I would have never dreamed in a million years that he would have worked through this family like he's done, but he has. And that was right here in this state. This guy right here, he moved down to West Monroe to work for me. We sat on the couch one night, and I started telling him more and more about Jesus and how he changed my life and what he wants for us. And we read passages, and Kyle gave his life to the Lord. That's what it's all about, guys. That's what it's all about. It's sharing Jesus with others, living with each other, staying unified, being positive, encouraging. And that's what it's all about. And that's what should be oozing out of our bodies and our mouths all the time. And so I do have a passion for people and getting them in a better relationship with the Lord. I was going to be I went to seminary. I thought I was going to be a preacher, but that didn't work out. The joke there is that I'm preaching right now. So I was like, I've preached to way more people not being a preacher than if I'd have been a preacher. I'd have been in some small church. And most of my family did, me and Jace, we all thought we were going to work for the church. And then we ended up working for the family company. And again, God has given us a platform to where we could go share more and more. But we've done that since we were kids. When we were teenagers, we were always after people, trying to find out where they were in their life. Hopefully you'll learn some things about me from being here with me today. Some of the things they don't show on television. Now, they edit me so mean. I'm like, I'm not that mean. I'm just trying to get people to work. But I do like having a good time and pulling some pranks. Let's think about that prank. So Kyle, whenever he came to me, Kyle came to see me give a speech. Where were Nashville, I think? I was in Nashville giving a speech. And so Johnny D was my assistant. And I told him, I said, go out and find my friend Kyle. And he said, what does he look like? I said, he's Asian. He's about 6 foot tall. Kyle's about 5'5", and he's not Asian. But I thought it'd be funny for Johnny D to find and ask every person he saw were they Kyle Tingwa. Finally, Johnny D walks in and goes, okay, nice joke, because I just met a lot of new people that I want to know really I want to know really more about you. And I won't, obviously, for time's sake, I won't be able to see everyone and hear your story. But I want you to kind of inventory your life this morning and find out where you're at. And I'm sure it's a big crowd. People's watching online. I know people walk in these doors. These are just tools, by the way. This is not church. You are the church. And the church moves around everywhere. And we have these wonderful tools where we gather up and we use things to bring each other closer. But I'm sure somebody walked in here who's battling with sin right now. And I just happen to be the speaker this morning. But maybe you're entangled in sin and need to get out of that sin, and you do. Maybe you come in, you're just not confident. You're not sure how God can use you. Is he using you? Maybe you're a worrier. You're worried to death about something. Maybe you're here because you heard I was here, and you don't oft come into a church building. And you look at what happens up here, and it looks strange. And maybe you're not a believer in that. It would look strange, right, if you're not a believer? Maybe that's you. I saw my name. It was on the sign driving down the road. So maybe somebody saw the sign and came in and wanted to see that. And if you came in, I'm going to dope pop you at the end. I'm coming after you, just like I did my friend Kyle. So I don't know where you're at. Some of you are just here and you're happy and you love Jesus and you want to sit with a lot of other people who share your same faith. And at the end of our time, hopefully my job is to encourage you and strengthen you, make you happy, make you glad to be a believer, because I'm just like you. Let me tell you about a guy who didn't know who I was. Me and my buddy, we were driving to Nashville, Tennessee, and we needed to stop because I wanted some coffee, and he needed to stop at Walmart and get something. So we pulled into Murfreesboro, Tennessee. There's a Starbucks right by Walmart. So he dropped me off. I'll get my coffee. He goes into Walmart. Well, then I come around, and I go to the RV. It's locked because he's still in Walmart. So I just kind of sat on the curb waiting for him. And this car pulls up, and this guy's looking at me. And he says, "Hey, man, are you okay?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm good, buddy." He said, "Do you need anything?" Well, I got a coffee, so I'm good, but no, I'm good. He said, "Do you need any food?" I said, okay. My brother Jace calls that facial profiling. So I'm kind of smiling. I was like, "I'm good, man, thanks." And so the RV we have, you may have, it's been on the TV show. There's a picture of me and my family like 7 foot tall on the side of it. So he looks at the RV and he looks at me and he looks back. He goes, "Is that you on the side of the RV?" I said, "Yeah, that's us." He said, "I guess you are okay." I said, "Brother, I'm doing good." But you know, when I think about that story, the guy had no idea who I was. But what about him stopping to ask me that I need help? Right? That's pretty cool. Because how often do we do that? Do we see things and see people and we just rush right past them, and we don't? Because I am a guy that needs help. I remember, you might have been in San Francisco. There's a lot of homeless people in San Francisco if you haven't been out there. And it's sad, it's really sad. And there was a man laying in the street like this. And I didn't want to judge him, but he looked homeless. And so I thought, am I going to be the guy, we see this on the news, right? That you're driving around a human being that's laying in the street. And I said, I'm not going to be that person. I told my cousin, "Stop." I get out. I grab this guy. The smell was, I thought I may throw up. It was so bad. I'm holding this person, and I'm like, "Buddy, I got you, man. I got you. We're going to get you. You don't need to be laying in the street." And I sit him on the side. He looks up, I kid you not, and he said, "Hey, man, you got $20 on you?" And I realized I was like, he was laying on the street trying to get some money, but I didn't want to be that guy. And I am a guy that needs help. I need help to be a good father. I need help to be a good husband. I need help to be a good follower of Jesus, a good friend. And I find that the more I talk about Jesus, it takes the focus off of me. If you came in this building today or you're listening online and you're worried about a lot of your own stuff, sometimes what helps me is talking to others about their problems, because then when I hear theirs, I'm like, ooh, mine aren't near as bad as I thought. But it gets that focus off of us, because sometimes we just focus on us and us and us, and it needs to be on others and others and others. The reason that I don't give up on people and why I care about people is because my father was one of those people. I think a lot of people would have given up on him, would have just said, that guy. See, my father came from a really poor family, and he was a gifted athlete, and he ends up getting a scholarship at Louisiana Tech University to get a degree. And it's true, he did start above Terry Bradshaw. So people say, how good was he? I don't know, but if he's a starter, he's a backup. I'm assuming he was better at that time. So, but the problem with football season is the same as duck season. And my dad was like, I got to make a choice. So he played 2 or 3 years, and then he just said goodbye to football, gave it over to Bradshaw. We all know how that story turned out. And my dad ends up, he's got his master's degree in education. He's really smart. Again, he's athletic. He's got kind of the world in front of him. And came from such a poor background. It was like, oh, good, this guy's going to make some good. He and my mom are married. They moved to the big town of Junction City, Arkansas. Nobody's from Junction City, Arkansas. I've said that a lot, and I was at one place and somebody yelled. So he ends up there, and he's a football coach, and things are going okay, and then his life just started going down the toilet. He was so far away from Jesus. He was very immoral. There's probably some people in here today that have been there. Maybe you're like that. He was a bad husband. He was a bad father. He was just bad to everybody. He lost his job. He ends up leasing a bar. I thought that was a good idea. Sell alcohol to people. Keep the peace. Always had a pistol. He would fight people. He would race people. He had a raccoon that would fight other people's animals of choice. That was weird. Snakes, dogs. What does the Bible say? They invent ways of doing evil. I mean, he was one of these guys, And things are not going well. So there's a dispute with the owners of the bar and him, and so he put both of them in ICU. And the state police showed up to the trailer. Where's he at? He gone. He went to live in the woods for 4 months. Now, we've all done that. The helicopters are like on the woods, or the manhunt, and the part of a state like, yeah, there's my dad in there. Running from the law, living in the woods. Mom takes off. Just said, probably over, right? He's probably going to be dead, going to jail, threw his whole life away. All that talent. Most people would have given up. But thank the Lord that he showed up, got on his knees, said, I'm done with this life I'm living. I'm giving it to God. I'm putting my faith in Jesus. I want my family back, and I'm going to start building duck calls. All were good choices for him to make. So I tell you this, if you're wondering what Jesus means to me, without Jesus, my father would have never come around. I would have been raised under a single parent at the time. I would not have known my dad. There would be no Duck Dynasty. There would be no happy times. I probably would have lived an entirely different life, and it statistically probably would have been worldly. And all I knew was whatever Jesus, I was young, but whatever he was and whatever just happened totally transformed my father into a different person. So that's why I'm here telling you about him today. It all started when I was a child. It all started before I was a child. And my father was the same way. He had been so bad, he wanted just to do as much as he could for Jesus. And so he started talking about him, and he ain't stopped yet. He says some other stuff too that yeah. Everybody's like, I love you, Dad. You tell me to keep saying that stuff. I'm like, some of it he could leave out because I have to go do an interview about that. Now I got two. It's like, I wake up every morning like, what Phil say? What Donald Trump say? I got both. I'm gonna have to be. I got to go to New York in a few weeks, so I got to answer all the questions from the reporters. But it's fun. Phil is really, really a hero of mine for sure. No doubt, he's, and if you sit and talk with him, he gets so mad, and sometimes I'm like, Dad, why are you screaming? He's screaming about everything. I did this joke on him. I was sitting in church. Y'all know how I think weird. So I was sitting in church. I'm sitting in Phil's Bible class, and he just yells everything. Matthew chapter 7. I'm like, he's angry from the start. So I'm sitting in church, and I'm thinking, what if he read the announcements like Pastor Matt? And I'm not going to do this, but I was like, and I'm reading the bulletin, and I started getting so tickled thinking about it. So I actually we videoed it where I'm at the podium, and I had my glasses like my dad, and he's got this stance, and I was like, barbecue chicken dinners are on sale Sunday. $5 a plate. You know who liked barbecue dinners? The founding fathers of our country, George Washington, James Madison, Thomas Jefferson, all chicken eaters. It's the first time I've done that. That was an add-on. But he is a godly man, come from a difficult past, has an incredible story. I'm glad it's not my story. It's what, people are like, oh, I want to hear that story. Mine's not as exciting as that. But for those of us in here that have that, that's great. You don't have to go in the gutter to have this great story, all right? God can use you in whatever your story is. God can use you. You know who I look up to? You know who I love to read about and think about? John the Baptist. John the Baptist. I can relate to this guy. First off, he's a weird dude. Let's be honest, he's strange. Wore strange clothing, ate strange things, came out of the wilderness. He's my kind of guy. He hunted and gathered his food. He had one job: point people to Jesus. That was his whole job on this earth. He went around baptizing people. Fiery guy. And it was if you think about it, he was prophesied 800 years before by Isaiah. Does God work? Does God have a plan? Does he plan this thing out? You ever think like God's not in control? He prophesied that he was going to come, that John the Baptist was going to show up. Remember, it was weird. His birth was weird. Just like Jesus. There was this connection. John was the same way. Here's what his daddy said about him. And you, my child, will be called a prophet of the Most High. And you will go on before the Lord to prepare the way for him, to give his people the knowledge of salvation through the forgiveness of their sins, because of that tender mercy of God by which the rising sun will come to us from heaven, to shine on those living in darkness and in the shadow of death, to guide our feet into the path of peace. He's talking about John the Baptist. Isaiah prophesied about him. He's coming. Remember, his parents were old, couldn't have children. And alas, you're going to have a child. He's going to be called, and you're going to name him John. He's going to be a teacher. Don't say anything about it. Told his daddy, okay. Whoop. God took his voice away. couldn't talk. God's amazing how the stuff he does. And then John goes in the wilderness. It said he grows in strength and power. It said he's going to tell people about the good news of Jesus. Just pointing people to him. That was his job. That was his job. So does God work or not? There's a family of this weird family in West Monroe, Louisiana. They look weird. They act weird. They eat weird. Just pointing people to him. That's our job. That's our job. Same job. Same job. That's all we're about. It's not about us. It's not about us. It's not about you. It's about him. It's about pointing people to him. And I got to make sure that I'm following the right people. I'm reading about people like John the Baptist. John the Baptist got his head cut off because of it. If you think you're going to be a Christian today, and I don't say that I'm careful about when I use the word persecution, okay? And I would challenge y'all to be careful. When you get your head chopped off, that's persecution. When somebody says something ugly about you on Twitter, I don't really consider that persecution, okay? That's just me. I mean, people can disagree. People say we were persecuted over stuff Dad said. It's not near the persecution of what Christians go through, okay? It's not even in the same, real persecution. There's persecution going on right now on this planet. The same planet we're sitting on, people are getting their heads chopped off because of their faith. They can't do this. They can't sit in here. You got to use your voice, because let me tell you something, brothers and sisters, if you think this is the way it's going to be for the rest of everybody's life that you're connected to, and then their children, I got news for you. There's people who don't like this. What does the Bible say? That it's not us, it's not the flesh. There's battles of big mysterious things, of realms, evil powers. And they do not like this. And I am so fortunate that we get to live in this country that we can do this. But if we take it for granted, God's been able to use our family to help promote that message. And so we're going to keep doing that. But you say, Willie, I would love to do that. I would love to help and use my voice. But I'm flawed. I can't, you don't know what I've done. You don't know the life I've lived. You don't know that I really just can't share. I can't do these things. And if I were the devil, and if I were fighting this global war against good, that's exactly what I would use. I would say use that. Chain that to that person. Chain that sin and that past, and everywhere you go, you walk with that. And you drag it with you. And you're neutralized. You're not going to get up and say anything about God. You're like, I'm the worst person in here. God can't use me. Do you think I'm perfect? Do you think I'm not a sinner? That's a lie and a trick of the devil to keep you right where he was. For you to carry that around and for you to not be on fire for the Lord is basically saying that what he did was for nothing. He died for that. That's why he came and died for your sins. So there's other people I love in the Bible. My favorite, my man. I love this. I can't wait to get to heaven. I can't wait to meet him. I'm going to sneak in like I was trying to get a photo with Megan Kelly. Because I'm going to meet old Peter. This guy is so like me sometimes. And I'm not a tenth of what he was and what he did and the life he lived. But he was like this, he would do the screw up things. But he loved God so much. So you remember how he came in, boat sitting out there? Peter's a fisherman. All right? You know what Phil did before the duck call business? We were commercial fishermen. So I'm around fish a lot. We ate a lot of fish growing up. We fish the rivers. Peter's same profession. They got their boats there. Peter's been fishing. Jesus strolls up. Hey, boys, let me teach you a little lesson. Sits down in the boat, and just as he taught him a lesson, I want to know one day, too, what he told him initially. These are the guys that are fixing to do it. Jesus gives him a little initial deal. He says, hey, Peter, why don't you take your boat out there? Throw them nets in that deep water. Peter's like, we've been fishing all day. They're not here. Like, it's a bad spot. But whatever that lesson was he just heard, he said, if you want me to try it, I'll try. Jesus like, let's try it. Like the boat's going to fall apart. There's so many fish. What does Peter say? Lord, get away from me, for I'm a sinful man. Why do we do that? Why do we push Jesus away? Because of our sinfulness. That's what we need to grab a hold of, right? And Peter was like, just get away from me. Just from seeing all these fish. Isn't that amazing? Like, get away from me, I'm sinful. And we do that. I do that. Jesus looks at Peter, looks past his weakness and past his lack of vision. He says, it's okay. He said, I tell you what, you follow me, I'll make you a fisher of men. I wouldn't even know what that means. Fisher of men. And Peter dropped everything he had and followed Jesus. And that's why I love Peter. That's fascinating. Anybody want to drop everything you got and follow me to West Monroe, Louisiana? That's a joke, by the way, so don't. Somebody like, yeah, I want to meet Uncle Si. People say, is he crazy like that? He's crazier, so. You think you can fake that long? Good grief. Peter dropped everything he had to follow Jesus. Man, that's the way I want to be. When Jesus gets ready to move, I want to go. If I need to go to Minnesota, I'm going to go to Minnesota. Pastor said, God's the one moving us around. Spirit. Oh, the Spirit. So, Peter's following. You remember Peter? Remember they were back out in the water? Jesus decides to stroll out there walking on water. They all look, it's a ghost, you know. Because, I mean, how would they know? Jesus like, calm down, it's just me. So Peter, like, oh yeah, I'm getting me some of this. And he starts crawling off that boat. He's like, I'll do it. Down he goes. Jesus like, come here, Peter. You just got to have faith, big boy. But Peter wanted, though. He wanted so much to please God. Remember, they came to get Jesus, fixing to take him in the garden. Soldier comes up. Peter. What's he doing with a sword anyway? That's kind of awesome. I think we think of these people as like little meek, little. He's got a sword and he tried to cut a guy's head off. That's tough. Jesus is like, no. Ugh. We're going to put that back on. That's not the way we're going to do it. Thank you, Peter, for being so aggressive. Jesus told Peter, you're going to deny me 3 times. Impossible. How does a guy who leaves everything he has, including that giant catch of fish that he just caught, how does he leave that, follow Jesus, walk around for years, seeing the most amazing things ever, the transfiguration, there's just miracle after miracle, people that are shriveled up, get up. How do you do that? And Peter did it once, twice, 3 times. Scriptures say they actually looked at each other, caught eye to eye. I don't think we understand the gravity of that sometimes, how bad that is. So, you've kind of heard people say like, hey, are you married? And somebody's like, no, and they take the wedding ring off. What if you did that to your spouse and said you didn't even know that person? I don't even know who they are. Do you know Corey? No. You have a K on your finger, so that's a giveaway. How much counseling would it take us to get over that? How many times would you guys ask, why would you have done that? Jesus once again looks past. It says Peter just wept bitterly. And let me tell you something, guys, it's okay to cry. Some of the things we do and get ourselves involved in, it's okay to cry. It's okay to be sad. But this is what I love about Peter. So Jesus dies. He's raised. Acts chapter 1, Jesus gone in the clouds. Acts chapter 2, there's a gathering of people. Big old gathering of people. Somebody gets up and says, men of Israel, listen to this. This man that you killed, God raised from the dead. You know who was yelling? You know who the preacher was? Peter. He just denied him. He just denied him. But his face said, get up and we got a job to do. And if you came here with the problems that you walked in here, I'm telling you right now, it's time to get up. Get up and just like Peter did, and go right back to what you know works, which is talking about Jesus.
That's right.
Isn't that awesome?
Amen.
There's two people right there. John the Baptist and old Peter. I'm glad Peter's life is in the Bible because I need that. Because I fall flat on my face. And I do things, I'm like, why did I do that? There's no answer. Because we got a sinful nature? Yeah. And then I have to get back up and get back up and get back up. I'm a flawed guy, just like you. I'm probably just more famous. But that's who we all are. My time here has been so wonderful. I want to pray with you and for you. And Father, I'm so thankful to be in the presence of my brothers and sisters here. I've learned so much just from the people here. I've learned about their spirit. I've learned about the Spirit. Learned about just good works that you have, good hearts. Thank you for the pastors here, Father, the worship team here. They're incredible. Thank you for guiding them, directing them to this place. Thank you for these beautiful people. And Father, some I probably won't see until heaven, but it'll be glorious, and we'll tell funny stories about the weekend here in Minnesota. And I'm just thankful that I was a part of it. And Father, be with us as we travel. Help us to always keep preaching your message. We love you through Jesus. Amen.